Welcome back to the Mentor Show, which offers quick lessons packaged within minisodes for busy founders and startup leaders like you. I'm Adel, and I'm being mentored live and unscripted by Ed, who's built, sold, turned around, and scaled startups all the way to the New York Stock Exchange. He's based in the US, a developed economy, and I'm based in Dubai, a hub within an emerging economy. And we compare notes. This is real talk, no scripts, no theory. Let's get into it.
When they say, I keep hearing taking money from, what is it? The three F's? Friend,
Family and fools.
yeah, yeah. So, so now that again, I'm coming from both perspectives, from the perspective of founder and also people who are joining the company. Because from a founder's point of view, I would worry about taking money from my friends, because what if that business doesn't do well and it goes bankrupt? What if we fail and I lose their money? Are they investors or they're really family? And the other concern as well is, if I decide to join someone as part of the leadership, and all that money that they raised is from their own relatives and friends, my worry will be, are these the right people? Because if they're sitting on the board and they're being investors, are they the right investors? Are they adding value? Does this lower the chances of success of this company? So all of these worries come in. So I don't know what's the right answer and whether these are valid concerns or not.
Well, there's certainly valid concerns, and there's no right answer, if I can, be ambiguous here for a moment. So let me get very specific and hope that this answers the question adequately. Fortunately, the use of friends and family money tends to happen only at the very, very, very early stages of a company formation. And you need that money to get the business from an idea to some defined point of achievement that you can legitimately take that achievement and now market it towards institutional investors to get the real next slug of money. So again, in my experience, I have usually seen the friends and family round unlikely to exceed $500,000. Unlikely. Doesn't mean that it doesn't happen greater than $500,000, but when I think about raising money from friends and family, it's the very small early dollars that is used to validate an idea, primarily for product market fit, not scale, just product market fit. I would say that when I think about friends and family, it's your mother, your father, your aunts, uncles, cousins, the best friend you had in school, your neighbor that really likes you and thinks that you have great ideas and wants to have a bite at the apple the next time you're looking for money. All of those people, if they can write a check and, this is really important, afford to lose that money, then it's a pure business transaction. And you need, as the CEO, to say, this is high risk. I may not be able to give you your money back. Are you okay with that? And look, if someone says, this is my life savings, here's $100,000, I wouldn't take the money personally. That's too much to lose. Right? Friends and family invest in you because of you. They might not actually know a damn thing about the idea, the market, the technology, none of it. They're just investing in you and they trust you. And with that heavy weight, you also need to be able to say, I can't take your money. Matter of fact, you better know that before you ask the question, because the flip side of this problem is, if you're very, very successful, your friend or your family might say, Adel, I'm really angry at you for not letting me into the friends and family round. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If the person can afford to lose the money, and I've had the conversation that says, look, this is high risk, there's no guarantee here, and they still want to put the money in, I'll take it, and we'll all go off into the future and hope that everything works. And if you lose all your money, you're still going to love me. We're still going to be friends. There will be no recrimination. Now, with that weight, by the way, also comes the obligation on the founder's part to be very smart with how they spend that money. And in fact, if I was taking friends and family money, you know what I would not do? I would not take a salary. That's the first thing I would not do. I'd pay everybody else, but I will not take a salary. If I'm taking friends and family money, I do not have a fancy office. I don't have a fancy desk. We're going to sit in my spare room using a plywood table and cardboard boxes, whatever it takes, but I am not going to spend that money on unnecessary things, right? What I want to spend that money on is early product market fit, early MVP of product, early sales. Then I can actually feel good about taking friends and family money and using that appropriately.
Excellent. Thank you. And coming back to the perspective of an employee, I've been approached. I see so many posts as well on LinkedIn of people looking for co-founders and looking for early employees. Now, even as a co-founder, when you're joining at the beginning, yes, it's against a vested plan, right? So again, I'm like an employee. So I need to get paid some money, hoping that we will achieve that product market fit. Now, the risk is, as I mentioned, having someone who's taking money from family and friends. Number one, the salary will be low. So I'm actually taking an opportunity, taking a risk, and there is an opportunity cost to me joining them. So I don't understand the full picture of the risk, what the risk is. The questions you asked right now, how much have they taken? And have they taken enough that will take us to the product market fit or not? If I have taken money from my dad and I came and I put money in our company between you and me, I'll probably try to use or leverage my vote, even though if I had 50-50 shares with you, I'll probably keep using that for further influence, getting into arguments with you, try to dictate what the decision should be. And actually, I've heard of a scenario like that. So,
yeah. So let's take that scenario because it's actually a good starting point for these hypothetical settings that we're creating here. Let me break that scenario into two questions, right? You're a new person, not the founder. You're the new person coming in to a new company. Are you an early employee or a co-founder? Let's start with that. And I'm going to make it simple for this conversation. I consider a co-founder someone that comes into an early stage idea and is actually willing to write a check to invest in the company themselves. If they don't have cash to write that check, they're willing to go with no salary or very below market to solidify their position as a co-founder. Okay. If the person is not willing to write a check and the person is not willing to take a very big paycheck cut, then they're really just an early employee. Right? Yes, are they willing to take a risk? Yes, but in my mind, there is no risk as great as writing a check out of your own bank account. The second level of risk is, and let me pause. Let me come back to the first example. The reason why I feel writing a check is a huge risk for a co-founder is if you lose that money, it's gone. It's gone out of your bank account. You're never going to get it back. If you take a lower salary below market and the company fails, you get to go out and get another job. All you really lost is time and the rate of the salary that you used to make, but your bank account still is flush, right? And if you're not writing a check and you're not willing to take a dramatic, let's say 50% or greater pay cut, then you're really just an early employee that's rolling the dice, hoping that this company takes off like a rocket ship and you get to ride the success of the business. So if I'm an early co-founder. I'm writing a check. I'm taking a much, much lower market salary. All the questions you asked at the beginning of this segment are important. Who are you taking the money from? Oh, it's your dad? Can your dad afford to lose the money? How are you going to manage your father's opinion on decisions the company makes, on money the company spends, on people the company hires? Those are fair questions to understand the human dynamic between the founder and the early money that they probably brought in from family and friends. If I'm a co-founder, one of the questions I'd ask is, hey, I have a fairly wealthy uncle. Would you mind if he participated in this early stage family and friends round? Right? Because really, at the end of the day, the spirit of this endeavor that we're talking about is we're getting together with probably 2 or 3 early co-founders, and we're all excited about the idea, the technology, the market. So we're all motivated by one thing, putting enough cash in the business to go hit that proof point milestone, right? Building the early product, getting the early customer, that kind of thing. So let me get to the next half of the scenario, which is if the CEO founder uses their personal relationship with friends and family, that's just a poisonous behavior. Well, I can't give you that raise because my dad won't write another check. There's a punitive sound to that I don't think is healthy, because what you're doing is you're using your investor's name as a weapon to not deal with a business decision, right? The better way to address that is to say, look, we raised a very limited amount of money from friends and family. It's not possible to go back to those same individuals to get more money. So given that money is tight, we're not raising anybody's salary. Period. We don't have the money. And if someone chooses to walk because of that, no harm, no foul. I get it. There's pressure there to bring in revenue at the individual level, and they can't tolerate the pressure. They're going to have to leave. I understand that. I could be disappointed, but I understand that. And there, the question is, if you already know you're feeling or you're creating pressure by not having adequate funding, then either go out and raise more funding sooner, or go out and make sure you're hitting those milestones to set yourself up for the next financing round.
Thank you, Ed. This is really helpful.
That's it for this Minisode. Big thanks to Ed and to all of you for tuning in. If this sparked something, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and make sure you share it within your network. Got a question for Ed? Drop it within the comments. See you next time.
Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any affiliated organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. We encourage listeners to conduct their own research and consult with relevant professionals before making any business or career decisions.